Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. An acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for him.
Thank you for taking time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to the live broadcast of Time for Hemp all around the world on AmericanFreedomRadio.com and on AM/FM stations all across America. A big shout out to all of my friends up in Canada. I want to say thank you to KDK Distributors for being nice enough to give us a grant to keep us loud, proud, and strong. And send my love to Headshot Canada for the same. They are an amazing group of people who make certain that people who do need medication, like medicinal marijuana, can receive their medication without being a criminal. It is Wednesday. On Wednesday, it is Leap Day. And we like to celebrate all the hardworking people at law enforcement against prohibition. Please go to leap.cc. Check it out. Listen, here's the deal. If you're looking for a bright mind and a good speaker to bring into your neck of the woods to help inform people why it is so important to end prohibition. Let me say that again. End prohibition. Go to leap.cc. And who knows, they might even send to your neck of the woods. Peter Chris, today's joint host. Peter, thank you for taking time for Hemp.
Casper, good to be here. It's another Wednesday, and we're going to be talking leap stuff today. And not just marijuana stuff, but all drugs. End of prohibition, regulated marketplace, get the gangsters and thugs out of the business. And to join us today, we got Finn Selander, who used to be a special agent until he retired with the DEA. And he worked in all aspects of the DEA, and I'm sure can fill us in on exactly why they are such a failure. And you just want to give a little quick background on you so the people know who they're listening to.
Sure. I have a background. I was in the military. I did my time. And while in the military, I decided that I wanted to become a federal agent, whether it was FBI, DEA, ATF, one of those. And once I got out, I went to school, got my degree, and eventually became an agent. I was a police officer up in Pensacola, Florida. And as a police officer, I saw firsthand, a lot of drug cases. Even though I was uniformed, we would go by the crack house, if you will, and have to run down or chase down the person selling crack. And I really enjoyed that, that type of work. And so I eventually applied to be a DEA agent, and I got accepted, picked up. And my first posting was in Miami. And then I did a couple of years in Miami. While in Miami, I was in the Noriega case in that group.
Right.
I did the Sanchez Paz case, which was a Venezuelan general that had over 6,000 keys of coke to move into the U.S. From there, I went to Orlando, Florida, the land of Mickey Mouse, and there I was the marijuana coordinator for the office. And I was involved with a couple of very large-scale grows at the time. Back then, I'd say marijuana growing, as far as hydroponics and all, was somewhat new. And so if you've got over 1,000 plants, that was really a big grow. And we did two back-to-back. One was 1,200 and one was 1,500. And that really got me into, and I'd say marijuana cases. And then eventually I got transferred out to New Mexico. Albuquerque, where again I was the office marijuana coordinator again. And what I saw, what brought me to realize that, if you will, the war on drugs is a failure, a total failure. And part of it is just seeing how our jails have just filled up, literally filled up with people that really aren't hardcore criminals. Yes, they were involved with drugs, but, I saw, people getting picked up, arrested and doing long periods of time in jail, federal prisons, not to mention the fact that now prisons have become if you will, a private business. It's been commercialized. And, when you have a incarceration business that is commercialized and you make money off of incarcerating people, something's wrong with that. And the drug war has, if you will, has supplied, the prison population. Right now, per capita, the U.S. is actually the most incarcerating nation on earth. And, you just study the facts of the prohibition, what happened back in, the alcohol days, if you will, the 20s, the 30s, during that time frame, when it helped, if you will, the black market from the prohibition actually helped the criminal enterprise. It's the money. It's, all about the money, and drugs are, when I say no different, it's about the money. And you've got these vast, if you will, organized crime cartels that are doing it because of the money. And I say, that's the reason I joined Leitch, is because we've got to get the black market out of, drugs.
Yep.
We might as well, I say, legalize it, decriminalize it, and treat it for marijuana, treat it just like alcohol. As far as the other drugs, most of those people are addicts. Good platform out there in the world, if you will, is what Portugal did. And it's very successful. When they first legalized drugs, at least marijuana and all, everybody was saying how, everybody's going to start smoking. It's just going to, make things worse. And it's just the opposite. Initially, when they did, usage did go up. However, it has scaled down, and now, it's like, I say normal. It's nothing.
All right.
So I think
Finn,
that is what we need to do here in the U.S.
Finn, I got a question here. What, as a member of the DEA, I mean, you were pretty gung ho, and you were probably out there with your little bulletproof vest on and all dressed up in black and swatting into people and shooting off all kinds of smoke grenades and taking all kinds of people into jail and then kind of like, ruining their lives and all that over a plant. When did you, like, all of a sudden go, I'm responsible for this and I'm being used as a tool for ruining the lives of people, and these prohibition policies are just destructive as hell, and I can't do this anymore?
Well, actually, it goes back to about the 1994, 95 time frame. I had a case in Orlando. I can't name names, say the names of the individuals. Actually, they're still incarcerated, but this particular case actually is what made me start really thinking that something is not right. It's wrong. We basically went in and arrested the suspect. It was a large, about a 1,500 plant grow, and all they were doing, the individual suspect, was just actually if you will, the gardener. They did not own the grow. They were just watching it, getting paid. They were getting ready to leave the country, actually, the following week. They had their passports and everything ready to go to a Southeast Asian country to live permanently. The individual wanted to do, when I say the right thing, in other words, we had the hammer, if you will, the federal hammer over the head. And the prosecutor was outstanding. He says, whatever I wanted to do, we would do it. The individual helped us to try to get the person, if you will, that was in charge of the grow. Long story short, the judge did not believe that anyone should cooperate with the government. We should cut them any deals or anything. And so the judge hammered this individual to the maximum that he could. He got 25 years, basically. And, I said that was wrong because even the prosecution, if you will, was all for reduction in sentence. We put in for it, the paperwork and all. And in the end, the person pretty much, that was a life sentence, 25 years.
Yep.
So that got me thinking. And,
it's interesting, Finn, when you mentioned the prison system, there was two comments I always like to make anytime prisons come up. One of them is when you mentioned we have the largest prison population on the planet. I'm sure that since you started doing this stuff with LEAP, you have had some people say to you, well, if you cops would just do your job out there, this prison, or this drug war would be over with. And I always respond by saying we don't have the largest prison population on the planet because people are turning themselves in. We have the largest prison population on the planet because we're grabbing them as fast as we can get our hands on them, and yet it still doesn't work. And the other thing I always like to add anytime prisons come up, in that huge, amazingly functional and controllable prison system, we do not have one drug-free prison in America. And that goes back to the absurdity of this policy. And there was one other thing I wanted to comment on. You used the word decriminalization, and I'm trying to stamp out the use of that word. Because if you decriminalize something, it is still illegal. So that means that law enforcement is still involved in making the arrests and so on and so forth. I want to see a legalized, regulated marketplace. And it comes down to the failure of this policy. I don't believe is because it's a drug policy. I believe that the failure of this policy is because in any society where you try to use the criminal justice system to enforce morality on individuals who wish to make different choices morally but aren't victimizing anybody, when you do that, you create crime in your society, and when there's money connected, you create violence. And I just wonder if that thought's rolled by you before.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the bottom line. Back up just a little bit. The reason I use the word decriminalization is really like if you talk Amsterdam and what's going on in Holland, okay, a lot of times I would get from an audience, they'd say, hey, they've made drugs all legal and all, and actually it was decriminalized, and that is the term that they use. They have the coffee shops and all, and there's personal use amounts. You go into the coffee shop and get, what you want and all. So that's the reason when I say decriminalization. But, I am for, when I say the platform, and I know what LEAP is for, is we have to get the black market out of drugs. And the best way to do that is, as you said, when you talk, as soon as you have prohibition, you can't legislate morality.
Yep.
In essence, you just create more of a problem.
And you're right. And Finn, I would like to think that members of of the former organization, the DEA, and their bosses recognize that by having a black market, you're putting money that you can't trace into the pockets of black market dealers. And that means you're also funding the bullets and the guns that are being used to shoot at you. And so I would think that the DEA would realize that not only is it a failure, but as long as there's a black market, then with that black market money, they are going to be gunned at. Now, when does somebody in the DEA wake up one day and go, we have to stop the cycle here? And if we end a prohibition, the money goes out of the black market. They can't afford the guns and the bullets. When does that happen?
That's a good question. I wish it would be, it happened yesterday or next week. We need to do something. And we have an old saying in investigations follow the money. It's all about the money. And really, I think for the average person out there listening, we can talk about drugs, but why is it that drugs, why is so much money generated from that? Well, it's looked at as it's a commodity, okay? And we're talking like 400, 500 billion dollars moving through the U.S. economy. So in essence, if overnight you just, snapped your finger and the drug, if you will, prohibition and all just totally went away, one side of it would be a very good thing, but the other side of it, you have to think about the money that it brings into the economy. So I think there's an underlying thing there also. When you look at the money that's generated, you just can't pull it out of the system. I mean, it's so corrupting. When you look at, like, for instance, a couple weeks back, didn't one of the second biggest bank in England, who has branches, I want to say, here in the U.S., they were fined for money laundering. Because you have to do something with that money. You have to, it comes into the economy. You have to take it and you have to, when I say clean it up, and even banks that are supposed to be on the up, a lot of drug proceeds. I mean, they did, back in the 80s, they actually came out with some statistics that I thought was very interesting. It was like this is like the late 80s, real early 90s. They said half of all the franchises in the U.S. had been purchased by narcotics. Pirates used to, money generated from narcotics, I should say.
Hold on. We're talking about money, and speaking of money, we got to pay our bills, and we do that by taking a commercial break, and then we're going to listen to a song about how fantastic marijuana is and come back and take a whole lot more. Time for hemp.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org. Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com. Green Glass Clean is a 100% green liquid cleaner that is designed to wash the toughest resin stains from pipes, bongs, and hookahs. Green Glass Clean is safe to use on glass, plastic, ceramic, wood, and about anything you smoke from, so you can enjoy the full flavor of your smoke. Green Glass Clean is easy to use. Just dilute a small amount, then soak, rinse, and dry. Green Glass Clean will gently dissolve any stuck-on crud from your pipe, keeping your smoking gear fresh and clean. Order Green Glass Clean at greenglassclean.com. And for those stubborn, hard-to-reach resin spots that just won't come off, there is the Gak Attack Brush Pack. Gak Attack Brush Pack keeps your smoking gear clean and looking shiny. The tough yet gentle nylon bristles scrub and scrape buildups and residue with ease. Wire-braided handle bends for easy maneuvering without damaging your smoking apparatus. Using the Gak Attack Brush Pack with Green Glass Clean will keep your pipes, bongs, and hookahs clean. Order your Gak Attack Brush Pack by going to gakattack.com. It's time for hemp prohibition to end. The cannabis legalization movement has long waited to have congressional or Senate hearings to present the failure of drug prohibition, medical benefits of cannabis, and more. Time for Hemp is tired of waiting for the cannabis movement to get such an invitation and has organized this 5 two-hour conference series special. Time for Hemp will be hosting live specials to produce a global cannabis summit with some of the most brilliant minds and amazing leaders of the industrial hemp and medical cannabis movement. This presentation will be broadcasted live on American Freedom Radio online, AM, FM stations across America, and on Roku, and will be archived at American Freedom Radio and on iTunes. During each commercial-free broadcast, moderators will conduct discussions with 6 expert panelists brought together from all corners of the earth to present the most current research and statistics concerning this trillion-dollar industry. Tune in live starting each Friday this August at 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This special presentation is being hosted by Casper Leitch on AmericanFreedomRadio.com.
keeping score back in the house. She keeps 2, 3, 4. Your breath, try to understand. The cops have taken photographs, shot them from the sky. You're a believer, you can see the pigs do fly. Your daddy's busted. Your daddy's busted by the police. Your daddy's busted. Your daddy's down upon his knees. Well, mama counts her blessings in the house. She counts them 1, 2, 3. My daddy's busted. My daddy's busted by the law. My daddy's busted. My daddy's busted now for sure. Well, mama's getting lessons on guitar from the man next door.
You are listening to Time for Hemp live all around the world on AmericanFreedomRadio.com, AM/FM stations all across America. A big shout out to the amazing people at Leap. I want to remind you that this Friday is basically another Leap a day. As we've been discussing on the commercial break, Time for Hemp's gotten a little fed up with the marijuana movement being treated like a nasty stepchild at the congressional hearings, meaning we're never heard from. Someone farts in the wind wrong, or you get a BB gun going off in somebody's backyard on an afternoon, you get 14 congressional hearings about it, 2 senatorial committees, and my God, we got to pass 35 new bills. But you got 45 billion people being locked up all around the world for a plant. You got lives being destroyed for a plant. You got prohibition destroying our future. You got no availability to medicine. You got no availability to a natural source of fuel from this plant. And nobody in Congress wants to hear from us, even though Elvie Masaki and Irv Rosenfeld and 2 other people received medical marijuana from the United States government. Our White House and our DEA happens to say that there is no medicinal value to this plant. We are fed up with it, and Leap is now sitting down at the table this Friday for 2 hours, no commercial interruption, and discussing what is going on with prohibition in the world today and what it is that we need to do, how much it's costing us on the planet, what it's doing to lives, what it's doing to officers and judges and prosecuting attorneys and the court systems, what it's doing to the budgets of municipal. It's just horrible. Anyway, 2 hours uninterrupted. We got an amazing group of people. Find out about it at timeforhemp.com. I did say we have the DEA, former DEA, on the line today. We have as a joint host as well. Remember, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2 million people all around the world pack their pipes, their vaporizers, and their bongs and take. Time for Hemp. We have Peter Criss as our joint host, and as our joint guest today, Finn Selander. Is that how you pronounce it, Finn Selander?
That's it. You get it.
Well, before I pass the questions over to Peter, I do have this question as well to you. How do people in the DEA, leaders of it, those who are working it, those who are grabbing their weapons and running out in tanks and going into the communities to enforce it, how do they justify what they're doing when they can easily, I'm going to say this again, easily Google prohibition and find out how bad the policies are? Google medical marijuana and find 1 million different studies that verify from the beginning of time to now it's good for medicinal purposes. Google industrial hemp. and understand all the great products and how it can free us from the dependency on foreign oil, and still walk out the front door with their weapon and their bulletproof vest and say, prohibition's a good thing. There is no medicinal value to marijuana, and I've never heard of industrial hemp, with a straight face?
Well, that's a great question. It really is, and it's one that needs to be answered because a lot of research, I mean, marijuana, there's no question about it that it has medicinal purposes. It's great medicine, or can be used as medicine. Not even forget the medical side. Look at the industrial side, what you can do with hemp. I mean, even if you go back in time and look at how marijuana was demonized, if you will, back in the 30s, and then the government getting behind the film, Reefer Madness and all that. There was a lot of politics in play back then, trying to, if you will, talking about the Hearst paper empire, him buying, large tracts of forest for his paper mills, for his papers, which would have competed with, when I say the hemp. Hemp is great for clothes. It's very sturdy, canvas. Farmers used to be actually...
Well, exactly. So with all this information at our fingertips, how is it that they're able to move forward with the arrest and the continuation of the budget and justifying what they're doing in their office?
Well, I think what they do, or at least some of the stuff that I've read lately, is DEA claims that right now 70% of the profits that the cartels are making comes from cannabis, comes from weed. So, the way I look at it is, wow, if that's true, 70%, you stop prohibition overnight, you could take 70% of the profits from the cartels out from under them. Why continue? But that is what they claim. They claim that basically it's right now 70% is from weed itself. So, they've got it set in their minds, hey, they're going to fight the cartels. That's the other thing. This is interesting. This is what I really think comes into play, too. You know that DEA is the only federal law enforcement entity that has a single mission, single scope, and that is to enforce the federal narcotics law, which is Title 21. It is the only federal law enforcement entity that has that single scope. And I know that back in the early 90s, the FBI numerous times, 3-4 times, tried big time to merge them, because we're all part of DOJ. And I don't know why that died. Part of it is, as an entity, as you would DEA with the drugs, they get political power. Of course, then they want to stay a separate entity. It's almost like the money generated, the arrest that they make. This is another twisted, thing. Every federal law enforcement entity has to go before Congress and justify, their next year's budget. Well, what if a good number of, if you will, the money that you're going to get for your budget, how many arrests did you make? Well, DEA makes, when I say the most arrests, at one point, it may not be so today, but 75% at one point in time, I do know that 75% of all federal prisoners were put in there on drug charges, and the vast majority were put there by DEA. So, and why do we have these other entities out there? I say law enforcement entities that have concurrent. FBI works drug cases, ATF works drug cases, even if you will, the officers, sworn officers that work for like the Forest Service and stuff, they can even work drug cases because that's where the money is. Everybody draws from it. And so that is self-perpetuating. Nobody wants to do away with the drug war because all these entities involved get a lot of money from it. You know, they profit from it, which is really a shame. You know, we need to sit down yesterday and actually, you know, come to terms with what we're going to do, how we're going to go forward. You know, we've got all these states. You've got is it the Washington State and Colorado that have basically legalized marijuana, and they're working out all the details. But the scary thing is, until at the federal level, until they take marijuana off of Schedule 1 and, you know, change that and at the federal level, then it's almost like spinning your wheels, because they can still federally go in there and arrest you because it's still against the law. So, you know, that's where an emphasis needs to be, you know, is for, if you will, all your listeners, you know, get involved.
Well, and then that's the other question. Do you think they're going to, you know, they've been really quiet, and they haven't said shit yet about what they're going to do. They're just kind of like toying with the idea. And so everybody's starting to move forward with growing their crops and building their businesses in all of these states, thinking very confidently there's too many of us for them to deal with. They cannot afford to shut us down. What do you think? You think they're planning some big October surprise?
Well, I don't know about an October surprise, but I do know this, that if you will, the people to legalize it move smartly and works hard, they will get it changed. I mean, in the end, they will win. No ifs, ands, or buts, you know, and prohibition, for the most part, will go away. But you got to be, when I say careful, look at what happened up in Montana. You know, Montana, everything just went in reverse. You know, that was a state that actually had, you know, medical marijuana laws and all. And so many growers, and this is another interesting thing, you know, where you had so many growers popping up, okay, because it was such good business. But then they got, like, you know, where they had billboard signs and everything. And so the people countering that, you know, is, well, look, you know, they're putting, you know, they're advertising right in our face, you know, putting up billboard signs, and just making it, you know, obvious that they've got a lot of growers. A lot of people are going into the medical marijuana business, and do they really have that many people that need it medically? And that kind of happened on the, you know, the one side, and then the other side counters that. And so pretty soon they just changed the laws, and now they're going backwards. It's a matter of fact, most of the grows now in Montana, it's gone back to, if you will, the black market, you know, underground. And that is so wrong. And the same thing could happen if they don't go forward smartly, you know. And I think one of the things that's going for it is the numbers. I mean, and then if you just look at the economics of what could be done with hemp on the industrial side, I mean, it's just phenomenal, you know. So,
you know, when Casper asks about how the other DEA, we know exactly how the enforcement people feel, because the vast majority of us in LEAP were true believers at one time also. We thought this was the best thing to do. We went out and we did it because we thought we were making society a better place. And it wasn't for many of us many years later after doing it that the lights went on for us and we saw that this is not helping, but in fact harming society. When you mentioned Schedule 1 before and about taking...
Before you move to a question, Peter, I don't mean to jump in like this, but we are right on top of a commercial break.
Okay.
And I want to remind people to go to iTunes. You can find all 4 of our iTunes podcasts to download. Peter, we'll pick up, or you're going to ask that question when we come back. And I want to also let people know that if you like this program, please go to American Freedom Radio and keep us tuned in 24/7 to enjoy all of our fare. Well, like I said, it's time to pack your bowls and let everybody know out there how important it is to end prohibition while you're taking time for hemp.
It's time for hemp prohibition to end. The cannabis legalization movement has long waited to have congressional or Senate hearings to present the failure of drug prohibition, medical benefits of cannabis, and more. Time for Hemp is tired of waiting for the cannabis movement to get such an invitation and has organized this 5 2-hour conference series special. Time for Hemp will be hosting live specials to produce a global cannabis summit with some of the most brilliant minds and amazing leaders of the industrial hemp and medical cannabis movement. This presentation will be broadcasted live on American Freedom Radio online, AM, FM stations across America, and on Roku, and will be archived at American Freedom Radio and on iTunes. During each commercial-free broadcast, moderators will conduct discussions with 6 expert panelists brought together from all corners of the earth to present the most current research and statistics concerning this trillion-dollar industry. Tune in live starting each Friday this August at 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This special presentation is being hosted by Casper Leitch on AmericanFreedomRadio.com.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Green Glass Clean is a 100% green liquid cleaner that is designed to wash the toughest resin stains from pipes, bongs, and hookahs. Green Glass Clean is safe to use on glass, plastic, ceramic, wood, and about anything you smoke from, so you can enjoy the full flavor of your smoke. Green Glass Clean is easy to use. Just dilute a small amount, then soak, rinse, and dry. Green Glass Clean will gently dissolve any stuck-on crud from your pipe, keeping your smoking gear fresh and clean. Order Green Glass Clean at greenglassclean.com. And for those stubborn, hard-to-reach resin spots that just won't come off, there is the Gak Attack Brush Pack. Gak Attack Brush Pack keeps your smoking gear clean and looking shiny. The tough yet gentle nylon bristles scrub and scrape buildups and residue with ease. Wire-braided handle bends for easy maneuvering without damaging your smoking apparatus. Using the Gak Attack Brush Pack with Green Glass Clean will keep your pipes, bongs, and hookahs clean. Order your Gak Attack Brush Pack by going to gakattack.com.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
Get your smoke on, everybody gather round. My connection came to town. He's got chronic, don't you know? He came straight from Mexico. Buy an eighth or buy an ounce, but here comes the 5-0, so you better bounce. Get your smoke on, get your smoke on.
Yeah, baby, get your smoke on, be loud, be proud, come out of the closet, let everybody know that you stand shoulder to shoulder with us in this foxhole, in this war on drugs. Oops, 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 did I call it a war on drugs? Oh, my bad, I'm sorry, we stopped doing that. The DEA and the Justice Department don't want to call it that. We want to call it an action now. And besides, the guys at Leap think if we call it a war on drugs, and somebody's got to surrender. And we know the DEA will never surrender. They got too much pride to admit they're stupid. Anyway, with that said, I don't want to say that out loud because I know the DEA, the FBI, and the CIA are listening today because it is Leap Day. And every Wednesday we celebrate the hardworking people at law enforcement against prohibition. And when we do, we know that Homeland Security and the Justice Department always tune in. So I hope you got your pencils and papers all out there and you're recording this so you can share it with your co-workers. And I want to remind my listening audience, after you get done puffing out, please run out into the street, go to an airport, go to your local government branch and find yourself a member of the DEA or Homeland Security to hug today. We are going to have a celebration of Hug Your Law Enforcement Officer Day starting every Wednesday on Time for Hemp. Before I pass the questions back, because Peter's got a question I know he's wanting to ask here of our joint guest today, and Peter is our joint host, but I want to ask Finn. Finn, here's another deal. Look, Leap is an amazing group of people, and they bring together like you, and there's Sean Dunnigan, and there's Neil Franklin, and there's a handful. We got Judge Gray. How come you look? You used to work for these people. Can't you just pick up the phone and call old Eric Holder and ring up Barry Obama and say, "Look, we used to work for you. We've been in the field for a long time. We know the deal. We want to chat. Can we have like a couple of hours of your time?"
Oh, I'd love to do that. I don't. It doesn't work exactly like that, but I would love to be able to call. I'd say Washington, people in Washington that are making decisions, and say, hey, I did this for a whole career, and it's time we change. You know what the definition of insanity is? It's doing the same thing and expecting a different result each time, and it's time that we stop the insanity and do away with prohibition. Matter of fact, I was involved big time with what DEA calls demand reduction, and I did that for a number of years. And when I say that the sad thing about that is there's not a whole lot of money that they really pour into it. I mean, money is going to be first and foremost thrown into law enforcement, and law enforcement, the end result is actually arresting, prosecuting, and incarcerating, if you will, the drug dealer. And we've been doing that for over 40 years, much longer. And I just use 40 years as a timeline only because that's when DEA actually changed their name, going back to Nixon in 1973, when DEA became, the name DEA. Before that, we were the BNDD, Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs. And, our early start, way back when was in the 20s, was the FBN, Federal Bureau of Narcotics. And our very first administrator, actually, Ensinger, he was totally against getting involved with as far as putting marijuana on the law or making marijuana a Schedule I drug and enforcing marijuana laws. He was totally against it initially. Now, eventually, he changed his mind. Of course, there's a lot of politics, when you read the story of Ensinger, but in essence, if you will, cannabis was demonized, thrown in there, and just like when I say the other drugs, the heroin and the cocaine. And you did make a really good point earlier. We're talking about all drugs because really We used to do a lot of meth labs. And I will tell you the vast majority, I mean, of the meth labs that we did. Now, it's not to say that they don't have the super labs, and you will come across those once in a while, but the vast majority were what we would call mom and pop labs.
Yep.
And they're the little labs that you carry in the trunk in the car, and the only thing you get really is a body. That person needs help. That person, he's an addict, he or she, and they need treatment. And by incarcerating them, you're accomplishing zero, other than, hey, putting up a stat and saying, hey, we arrested obscene, meth, took down so many meth labs. When the vast majority, like I say, of those labs were just the mom and pop labs. Now, that's not, yes, there's super labs down in Mexico. Sometimes we'll come across them inside the U.S., where they're actually producing large amounts of meth and this and that. But bottom line is, we've got to change what we're doing and actually get rid of prohibition.
Finn?
Just go forward from there.
Finn?
Yes.
Hello. We touched on the term Schedule 1 a few times. And I had somebody say to me way back in the 90s when people were telling me not to use the L word and not talk about legalizing all drugs. They said, what does legalization mean? And my answer was, it simply means the elimination of Schedule 1. All other discussion is about regulation. And I just want to comment a little bit on the fact that we in this free society have a government that tells us what drugs we can and cannot take. I'm not saying that they just regulate them to make sure they're as safe as possible, but with Schedule 1, these drugs are banned. And so everybody understands it. They are not just banned for personal use. They are banned for research. They are banned for everything under Schedule 1. And so my simple answer to the legalization question, what does legalization mean, is it simply means the elimination of Schedule 1. If we do away with Schedule 1, then we will have to have a regulation discussion. And I just wonder how you feel about that.
Oh, you just nailed it on the head. That is exactly what we need to do. Like cocaine, for instance, is a Schedule 2 drug.
Right.
It has some medical purposes. And if marijuana has a medical purpose, then absolutely. That's what they need to do, is take it off the Schedule 1.
Yep, it amazes me that we have so many conservatives, political conservatives, that think that it makes sense for the government to tell them. First off, all I hear from my conservative friends is the government's the problem. You got to get the government out of the way. And yet they support the government telling you what drugs you can take. I mean, I just don't know how you keep those two ideas in one head at the same time.
Well, you got a good point. A lot of, if you will, things interplay with that alone. You're talking about legislation, and I do want to be clear, when we talk about legalization and if you will, controlling some sort of control, whether controlling it like we do, alcohol.
Right.
That's for somebody, when I say to decide, somebody that we've got enough brain power in this country that we can all sit down together, different groups, and we can come, we should come together with, this is what we need to do,
Finn, we're coming up on the end of the show. Have you got any particular website or anything you'd like to push, or any upcoming events you'd like to plug?
I highly encourage, all your listeners to at least get on the website.
All right. And one more thing, too, before we give Peter a chance to give a shout-out. We know for a fact the DEA are listening. You got anything to say to those people?
Oh, absolutely. It's like, hey, it's time to change the way we operate, period. Get rid of prohibition.
Thank you. And Peter, one quick shout-out.
Quick, leap.cc, capslegalizedrugs.com. And as I say at the end of almost every show, the only thing that allows bad things to continue is if good people stay silent. Casper, thanks for sharing your audience with Leap once more.
I want to give a big shout out to American Freedom Radio. They do an awesome job at raising the voice of freedom and the voice of the marijuana movement. And then on Friday, it's going to be 2 hours, no commercial interruption, no music. We're going to be being very serious and talking about how horrific the policy of prohibition is. And we're going to march our own selves into Congress and let them know how important it is to take time for hemp. Please share it with your friends as well. Remember, we are up in iTunes, and you can find us there and download us for free. And remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
No need for pesticides to poison